Here's my front yard garden, and it is almost 9 a.m. and a balmy 66 because the sun has been covered for days with smoke and particles. We installed the front yard in about 2018 February. We started digging out all the hard clay soil and fixing some of the contours. There is a bit of a slope here, and this rock riverbed is called a swale. It is designed to capture water when it rains. So it goes in fairly deep, and there's big rocks in there and smaller rocks on top. And we calculated the area of our roof to determine how deep and wide our swale could be so that when it rains very heavily, it captures all the water, goes into the ground, our plants, and the water table instead of running off into the driveway. So that said, all this soil here, native soil, is really clay and anemic. That's why my japonica corn is really small, but I planted here anyway just to test things out and have fun. Oh my goodness, I have a rogue chicken in my neighbor's driveway. All right, things are always interesting around here. But anyway, this here is a moringa plant. It is a heat-loving plant, grows best in the equator zone. So there are some times when it is a little too cool for this, but it has thrived pretty well here. There's a ton of proteins and vitamins in each leaf. In fact, they're growing this plant to curb hunger and famine in areas like Africa and India. Down here is a rare variegated African basil. It is similar to the blue African basil, but it is variegated, and it is perennial here and attracts tons and tons of bees year round. So when we installed the front yard beds, I put in 5 raised beds, and again, because we have clay soil, so I needed a different solution. And the beds are angled to follow the sun because we get the most sun from this angle here. And the rest of it, I just kind of have let some things grow wild. So it fills in between, and if the plant wants to volunteer, I just let it volunteer for the most part. This is one of my favorite herbs right here. This is called wild za'atar oregano or Syrian oregano. It has a very different flavor from the Greek and Mexican oregano, and I just love it. And oreganos are great medicinal herbs. They have so many good properties to them, as do yarrow. I have some rare peppers there and a really fried tomato plant, and also a mystery brassica. I put it down way in February, and it started growing in April and July. It's just not tight head because it's really warm here, but I'm still harvesting the leaves. And the reason it didn't burn and die off, whereas the others got eaten by grasshoppers, is because the shade of this ginkgo tree helps keep it cool. And the same goes for this broccoli here. It was planted at the same time as that one. And I was able to harvest broccoli in August, which I'm really proud of for Southern California. And again, it succeeded because I have these zinnias and scabiosas that kind of shade it a little bit. And also the ginkgo helps shade it a little bit as well. This is a nice little pepper here. It's still in the small stages. It's a Papachilla napoletana giallo. I know I'm murdering it, but it's a really good sweet pepper. And down here I have a Cheongyang Korean hot pepper and a sick Black Beauty eggplant that's 3 years old. It's been overwintered for a while, and now I have spider mites as well as ash on top. This is a Rosa Bianca eggplant. In my zone, I can easily overwinter tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers, sometimes with more protection depending on the zone, where I'm planting it. This is an artichoke. It's a large globe artichoke. I got tons of artichokes earlier this spring from it. And in the parkway is where I have a lot of the California natives. Here I've got Tulsi. This is Kapoor Tulsi, or also holy basil. I plant it for the medicinal value, medicinal benefits, and also bees. Bees love them, and this is Vana Tulsi. Tulsi is a great adaptogen, and it is really great for your overall health system, nerves, and all that stuff. I'm not an herbalist, just a dabbler, so I'm not going to give you advice on that, but those are the properties. Here I have lemon balm. It is great for times of stress, and it self-seeds itself regularly. I don't really have anything growing in these trellises that I built. I have kale, lots of kale. This kale's going on its 3rd year. This one flowered, or actually these two did flower, but I chopped off the top and now I have more continuous tail. So when it bolts, you can still keep it, just chop off the top. Here, this is one of my favorite plants. This is tree collar. This is a purple tree collar. It is a perennial, great permaculture food plant. Permaculture, by the way, is the combination of the words permanent agriculture. And the point is that you want to grow a food forest, and that's kind of some of the principles we apply. Like I said, we mix up our styles a little bit. Oh my goodness, what are you doing in my front yard? Anyway, this is a green tree color. It does not typically flower. None of mine have flowered. I've grown these since 2013. So, and they can get really big if you don't keep them down. I had to hack one off from the backyard that was like 20 by 20 feet. Delicious, year-round perennial, and they root only by cuttings. And you cook it like a traditional collard. I make chips out of it, just like the kale. So, comfrey is another good medicinal plant, and it's good nitrogen fixer and good green manure for your plants. And this is another friend. It's also a weed. But weed is just something we don't want to grow. This is plantain leaf. It is great for healing wounds and insect bites, and just when I get a bite, I come in here and grab that. That's also good. That's self-healed. Here is a Eversweet pomegranate. I started it from a tiny cutting from the tree in the backyard, and now it's gotten pretty big, and I have a couple of fruits on it, I think. Yeah, there's the fruit here. This is the first time it's fruiting. So other oregano. On this side, some dead soybeans, edamame, and just these are volunteer onions that just kind of grew itself. I need to do some maintenance here, but yeah. I have hyssop here, roselle, also known as hibiscus. They're going a little slow this year. I didn't grow it last year, but I grew it 2 years ago and it was huge. Some more rare peppers in this area. This is a ají limón, spicy pepper. I have more basil, some cucumbers, dahlias that aren't doing too well, but that's life. They just suffered in the heat. Same with my cosmos. So that's my front yard garden for now. I had to stop and switch to a respirator because the fabric masks just weren't enough to filter out all the particles in the air, and my lungs were hurting a little bit. So you get the muffled respirator voice, but I need to protect myself. So, but I did want to point out that all the flowers in my front yard are edible, except for the milkweed flowers, which I only grow for the butterflies. But scabiosa technically is, it's just people don't eat them because it's not tasty. Same with zinnia flowers. Marigolds are definitely edible. You can eat the flowers off of peppers. Basil flowers are actually quite delicious. Same with Tulsi flowers, because they're in the same similar family. Put them in some tea and it's refreshing. And did you know that cosmos are edible, as well as calendula is edible and medicinal? Really good flower to have in your garden. They just look a little sad because they prefer cooler weather. And also dahlias, the leaves, tubers, and the petals are edible. I've put these beautiful petals in salads before. So you should definitely grow some of those. And I also want to point out another medicinal plant that I have. I have 2 elderberries in the ground, but they didn't do well and did not survive, and I don't know why. It might be because the soil is too compact and alkaline. Again, we have native hard clay soil, and the ones in pots are actually doing better. But I am not growing these in the backyard at all because of the chickens. The flowers can be used, but the berries are toxic and has cyanide in them. And without drying them or cooking them, you should not eat them, and neither should your animals.